Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of 5 Questions with AdiDev Press. Today, we're going to meet the multi-talented Isha Gandhi Parekh. She was born in India, raised in Canada, and is now living in the US with her husband and her 2-year-old son, Ved. She is so rooted in her culture that it is a part of everything that she does. She is a celebrated musician whose Garba songs are loved by the Indian community in Canada and in the US. She's an event planner and a henna artist, and I couldn't believe all of this packaged in one person. And most recently, she started a cultural product store for kids called Desi Pitara. And we are so excited to have her join us today and talk to us about parenting for her son. I'm going to try and add her now, and we are going to start our conversation soon. Okay, I hope this works.
Hi.
Hi, Isha. We are so excited to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for taking out the time and chatting with us. And I'm just so excited. And when I spoke to you on the phone, and as I was describing you, that you have so many talents, it is amazing that you are so rooted in your culture, and everything that you do is kind of in some way connected with it.
Thank you. Thank you. I give a lot of credit to my parents, especially to my mom. She's, although she didn't come from a very traditional family, she was married into one, and she adopted a lot of traditions, and she was the reason, she is the reason I am so, culturally rooted.
It has to be. It has to come from somewhere, I guess. And it's incredible that you had that in your upbringing, and it's incredible that now you're able to pass that on to your son.
It's fun. It's fun. Right now, I guess it's fun because he's so young. So I could, dress him. I could do whatever I want. I'm waiting to the day when he's like, "Many penunga. Why do I have to do this?" Like, the stuff I used to do, and I'm kind of not looking forward to it, but I'm sure I'll get there.
Yeah, this younger age is the best, where they are the most like they're like sponges and soak in everything that you're giving them, and
Yeah.
go through that phase where they're more resistant. But it'll come back, I feel, once they cross that phase, and
Yeah.
everything that the mummy taught them or the family taught them will come back.
It's amazing. After marriage, I'm starting to realize how much I'm like my mom, or my dad. Before marriage, you are always, because you're always surrounded by them, no? So you always like, nahi, inko nahi pata. But when you get married, when you have your own home, you have your own like family, then you're like, oh no, this is how we do things. But why? Oh, because my mom used to do it, or
Yeah.
my dad used to do it. And those things, whatever you do, we don't realize that it sits back in your child's mind and it stays with them forever. And I see that in my husband too. He would be like, oh, but we did things like this. And he's pretty raised here. He was 6 when he moved. So
Yes,
he's raised, but he's very, very like, he's very rooted. He's very rooted.
that's incredible. I'd love to hear more about your family, and so we'll get started.
Sure.
So, first question is about your new venture, My Desi Pitara, and you say you started that because you wanted to see your child represented in products around him. And tell us more about this. It's important to you.
So I'm not everybody knows, but I'm from Toronto, Canada. And it's been 21 years for my parents. And I came when I was in grade 9. And so I was very like, I was born, raised, I was like in India, I was very rooted. And I come here, I go to Niagara Falls, and I go to places, and I go to souvenir stores. And I know full well that I'm not going to find my name, on the uh, those souvenirs that you have, like whether it's a mug or whether it's like a plate, name plate, or anything. It's not going to have my name. but I would always give myself the opportunity to get, like disappointed. I'd always want to get disappointed because I was always ask them. I would
Mm.
always ask like, can you make a personal for me? And they'd be like, no. And I felt very insecure. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like this is not the right place for me. Why did mom and dad bring me here if I am not a normal? If I'm not normal, if I'm not, it's normal to have my name. My name is a name. Like, why is it not here? So I used to feel very out of place. Now, if you come to Toronto, it's like a full-on mini India.
Yeah.
You get everything you want. You get everything. So I didn't. And so when I had my child, and I remember looking at him, and I said, "Oh my God, he's a ball of clay. He's a ball of clay. I'm supposed to mold him." But I said, you know what? I never want my son to feel the way I did because it was not a good feeling.
Mm.
When you leave everything of your life and you come, and when you don't find your representation, it's not a very good feeling. So that's where it started. And I started very small. I started doing like very miniature projects. And then I started launching into my Rakhis, which was a huge hit. And now I'm doing Diwali products. So
And
that's my first year. It's only been 6 months.
yeah, wonderful. I wanted to talk to you about festivals and how you celebrate them because festivals, I feel, for a lot of expat parents, is a great opportunity to connect with their culture, to get their
Mm-hmm.
kids into their culture and tell the stories. And from your Insta page, I see that you put in a lot of effort. You do the decor and the clothing, and now you also make the effort to bring in products that will help him experience the festival more. To
Yeah.
connect it. So tell us about some festivals that are important to you and what you do to celebrate.
So, of course, everybody has festivals like Diwali. That's like the best, right? But this year, starting this year, Ganesh has become very important for me. Like I said, my mom's family is not traditional at all. They are very like chill, and they don't they mandir jayenge aise karenge and they'll come out. Aisa kuch nahi. My dad's family, on the other hand, especially my two buas, they're very religious. They host Janmashtami. They host Ganesh. They host like Diwali, and the whole society is invited to do the darshan. You
Hmm.
know, so that's where it comes from. So for me, growing up, excuse me, I got a fine mix of both. And this year, Ganesh became very important because my son, he's very much into Ganpati. So growing up, when he was born, I sing. So I used to sing him songs to sleep. So I used to sing him bhajans to sleep. And then he started getting into like the YouTube videos with like Amitabh Bachchan doing Siddhi Vinayak. So
Yes.
he calls it Om. He calls Amitabh Bachchan Dada, and then he calls Ganpati Siddhi Vinayak. Or sometimes, agar uska mood hua, then he'd be like Bappa Moria. So I came to Toronto. I'm here in Toronto at my parents, and we went to Ganpati, and he was so excited to see in
Yes.
person and to pray that it's like, oh, Bappa Moria, Bappa Moria. So I think festivals are very important. It doesn't have to be where we don't like I only celebrate this festival but I don't celebrate this festival. You should be open to all. Growing up, my parents would take us to mandir, whether it was Ram Navami, whether it was Diwali, whether it was Janmashtami. We would go to the temple. We would learn. I would go and ask the Maharaj why we do certain things.
Hmm.
I would always go and ask it, so why? And then my mom was also very much into decorations. Like she would decor the house. She would make it look pretty. Her goal is, whenever somebody walks into the house, you have to look presentable. So you can't, if somebody walks into your house and you look like you just woke up from your bed, that's not right. So getting ready, keeping your house like fairly clean, it's very important. So all that I got from my parents. So I do that with my child. I have a whole section of like Diwali. Then I have stuff for like, now I have stuff for some Ganesh. Then I have stuff for just for Mandir. So like, and I use it and I try to make it fun because I want him to experience it. I want to expose him. I don't want to impose on him.
Yes.
You know, that is important. I think exposing is very important for kids.
Yes. They need to enjoy the festival. If it becomes an imposition, then they start resisting it, and then the joy goes out of it.
Yeah, my mom would always, I remember as a child, I think she learned very late, but she's, at Janmashtami, she would be like, you have to eat farali food. And I cannot stand it. I cannot eat farali food for the life of me. I cannot eat like morios and rajigra puris and all. I just can't do it. So I never said no to doing Janmashtami, but I said, why can't I eat regular food? And she'd be like, no. But at that time, that generation, I guess they were also told by their parents, this is how we do things.
Yes.
So they never knew why we do something. Now with Ved, I'm starting to learn that if I want my son to do something, I need to educate myself before I expose him to stuff.
Yes.
Because he's going to come and ask me at some point, why do we do certain things?
Yes, definitely we need to answer the why, and also we need to learn to adapt that, let's focus on like the bhakti aspect of it, the joy of it, and maybe the food is not so important,
Yeah.
it depends what you're willing to give up and what you're willing to actually retain the stuff that you really treasure.
Right.
So,
Like it's not important to wear Indian outfits if you don't want to. Don't wear it, but come to the mandir, learn to, pray. That is more important,
with bhakti, or with like some feeling that
Yeah.
that this
Absolutely.
is I love.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
Absolutely.
it be carried forward, I guess.
Yeah.
I love the way you think about it, all these things.
I have to because I'm like, I'm moving. I'm like, I'm not going to have any family. What am I going to do?
And
So,
that's my question. You spoke a lot when we spoke on the phone about the power of community. Sorry. And you're moving from a town where you have a lot of family to a town where you won't have. So I wanted to talk to you about that and how you plan to make up for this and how you'll change your parenting style. What are the changes you're going to make to adapt to the new situation?
see, I'm not even there yet, right? So right now it still feels surreal because we haven't moved. We're moving later in the year. And it's going to be very different. Right now, he's exposed to both my husband and I speak our native language very fluently. And the rule at home is no matter what, you speak your native language. Like my husband and I can Gujarati, Hindi, we can speak very fluently. So we do that. But the good thing is he actually repeats words we say in
Yes.
Gujarati. So now when he gets hurt, he'll be like, Mama Wagyu.
Mm.
He wouldn't say ouchie, he would say Mama Wagyu. Or if I say, if you wait, said Mama Beso. So he speaks. So I think language, use of language, and that's on us. It's very easy if you've lived in US or Canada or outside India for a period of time to like switch, in between languages. It's very common. It's very common. I think it's easier when you have your family around to keep you, like you all just naturally communicate in
There's more
your native
to have
language.
your child. It's not just
Yeah, exactly. And I think with lack of family, I think that's going to be a little issue because then now he's going to be surrounded by people who don't necessarily speak the language. There's not kids who are also going to be speaking the same language, so he is going to resist. I think we're definitely going to do more community-based engagement, like stuff that my parents did. Like, you go to the temple, but also on my part, I'm going to do my part of educating myself. Like if I tell him that, okay, we have to do this beta, then I have to be ready to explain to him. And I'm not going to impose something on him that he doesn't want to do. Because I think when you impose something on kids, they become very resentful of you. They're like, oh, my mom made me do it. You don't want that because that defeats the purpose of something. So I think my in-laws, my parents, they'll be visiting more often. We will be more engaged in the community. I told my husband, I said, now that we don't have family, we have to go to the mandir. I really enjoyed my stay at my parents' house because we did 2 Ganpati pujas. We're doing a Visarjan today. We did another like a religious, we had a Satyanarayan Katha. Stuff that my son doesn't get exposed to very often because वहाँ पे community is smaller where I live right now. It's very small. So now I think with the bigger city, he'll get more exposed. People will speak his language, will take him to more festivals, and I will make a conscious effort to celebrate major festivals, if not all,
Mm.
with more enthusiasm and involve his friends if I could, invite them over. Kids celebrate together. We do it as a community versus just like we are walking into a party.
Yes, we did that also quite for a number of years. I did Janmashtami in my home, and we did the Laddu Gopal, and I had called all my friends who had similar age kids, and
Yeah,
luckily my mother was visiting for like 2 3 years for Janmashtami, so it became a thing that Nani's
right.
here Janmashtami, and then I'd make her tell the stories of Krishna to all the
Yeah,
children. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
very special. And this year we didn't do it at home. And I visited three friends in the neighborhood who had decorated for Janmashtami. And
yeah.
we went to all their houses, ate the food, did the pujas. And at the end, when we reached home, my son was like, everywhere they've decorated for Janmashtami. Why haven't we done it
We
in our
decorated.
home?
Yeah,
We celebrated in three places. I said, no, next year I want to do it in my home.
my
So,
house. Yeah,
uh,
and I think like the thing in that is a thing. Like that is the thing. The kids are so spongy. Every time I come to Toronto, I buy stuff from like small businesses. I do it in Canada, Toronto, in US, but I do buy from small businesses who are selling these cultural products because the more you expose them to the language, the more you expose them to the characters, the more they look and they're like, oh, that person looks like me. Oh, uska naam bhi Anita. Oh, you can have a name like Anita in a book. Like it doesn't have to be Joe and John. It makes a big difference. It really makes a huge difference. So I think we want to do that. We want to expose him. I started buying products for him that didn't that is not his age even right now when he was born. I started buying all these small businesses because I'm like, I want him to have a book on Hanuman. I want Ganesh. I want Mataji. I want him to be like, this is normal. It is normal to like, we used to have Amar Chitra Katha growing up. It's normal to have these books. So yeah, I think exposure and it's amazing your kid said that you have to do it next year. That's awesome. That's cool. That's cool. So that's good. Now you have something to do with him next year. That's awesome.
absolutely. And Janmashtami is really quite a fun festival for children, and because it's about a child. Lovely.
Yeah, storytelling. And of course, who doesn't love Krishna? Who doesn't love Krishna?
Absolutely. So, coming to my next question, I want to talk to you about foods that you feed your child. And I've seen on your Instagram, and you say that I wanted to feed my child foods that
Oh,
I eat. And even before you had him, you were like, this is a conscious decision. And I'm going to feed him what is in my DNA.
yeah.
And I feel that after maybe a generation or two, where South Asians were enamored by the West and maybe excited about the burgers and pastas, it's come full circle where now we're realizing that we should actually eat the food that is in our heritage. It has a very rich history, and also a lot of nutritionists are saying now you should eat what your ancestors ate because it's good for your gut. Your gut is evolved to kind of digest that better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but living abroad, sometimes it's difficult to create that food at home. So,
hmm
about your experience of introducing Indian foods to your child, what were the challenges, and how you deal with it?
So I'll be honest. When I before I had a child, I used to hear things like mirchi na khilao, masala na do, bland food. And I've also seen kids who are 8, 9, 10, even 25, and then they don't eat chili.
Mm.
And nothing against it, but then those kids don't develop palate. Then that's just my personal opinion. Everybody can differ. They don't develop palate, or they cannot adapt because they have not been exposed to it, right? So when my son was born, I asked my mom. I said, so what did you do with me? And she's like, you ate everything. And I'm like, what do you mean you ate everything? She said, well, whatever we ate, my nanny would make like dal ka pani, which we give the child, right? But she would do all the masala, but of course little masala, thoda sa, just to give a flavor, tad bit of flavor, not plain ukala hua dal. She would give some flavor. So I'm like, oh really? You gave everything? She's like, yeah, I did, And I was like, okay. But then I was also conflicted with others who said, nahi, don't give mirchi. But of course, everybody has their own, right? And I said to myself, if I don't give my son even this much of masala right now, I don't know how I'm going to get him to adapt to even slightest bit of spice. Because then he's or she, at the time I didn't know it was a boy or a girl, I said, then he or she is going to say, Mama, spicy. Mama, spicy. What am I going to make different meals for him? Am I going to set out his food separately? So I said no. So when he was born, I started him for the first 3 weeks. He was on purees, right? A little bit of like fruit, beet, thoda veggie puree. Then I started him with spinach rice. I started him with dal ka pani first. Then after dal, I added rice and ghee. Then I started him with spinach and rice. So with spinach and rice, I used to put it almost tasted like palak paneer, like mild palak paneer. And I would make that and I would put rice in it and he would eat it, wipe it clean, and it would scare a lot of our family. Some of our family would be like, oh my God, aap bacche ko hi de rahe ho. And I'm like, but he's eating it and he's fine and he's doing just well the next day. So yeah, he's fine. So, and now my kid, he eats mathia, gathia, thepla, and achar. He's less than 2 years old. He dal rice. He eats like a spicy paneer, not spicy, but like regular spicy. And my thing is, when you feed a kid spice, you're obviously not going to overspice it. I don't think you and I eat like over spicy food. Ke bear nahi kar sakte, right? And if there is anything that I think is over spicy, then I tame it down. That is common sense. But my whole goal as a parent was my child has to learn to eat what I ate, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of, researchers are saying that don't eat this. But wait, hold on. Where are you reading this research? If it is an American research, then you have to understand their DNA is different than yours. Like a researcher in America can say, don't feed a kid sugar. But they weren't brought up eating halwa puri, and like, you as a parent were brought up eating like halwa puri. Like my gut can amazingly adapt to that. So my child can adapt because I ate it during pregnancy, So when someone tells me, I know a research came out, I'm like, I don't care what the research came out, because my child is Indian, my husband is Indian, I am Indian. So my child can eat Indian food at a regular spice level. So I think now everybody loves it. When he goes outside, everybody's like, oh my God, Ved eats everything. वो तो सब कुछ खाता है. But back then, I received a lot of pushback on feeding him spices, or like feeding him foods that they thought was very early on.
I think each mother has to make that choice for herself, and it's nice that they're able to eat what you eat, and it gives a lot of joy in eating together. So.
Exactly. And the thing is, the kids want to eat what's in your plate, right? If the kid sees that you are eating something that's different than what they are eating, they don't want to eat from their plate. I'll tell you a funny story. So my mom, when we came here, my mom gave us like corning plates to eat from. And she gave Ved like a chandi ka plate, chandi ki katori, chandi ka glass, chammach, everything. It was so funny. He pushed the plate away because he wanted the corning ka plate.
Same plate as the mummy.
He's like, why do I have this? And my dad's like, do you even realize what you're doing? I'm like, Dad, you don't realize. It's psychology. Child wants what everybody else wants. He thinks he's being like, set apart, and he doesn't want to be. He wants to be a part of the group. So he's going to eat what we eat, and he's going to eat from what we eat. So there you have it,
Yeah, my children won't accept the plastic plate that the restaurants will give you for children. They'll be like, no, we want the same plate that the adults have.
Adults are eating.
Want the plastic cutlery.
Yeah, they don't have a concept of silver is like, it's nice, it's royal. They don't have a concept. They don't care. They're like, if you are my son, okay, I will not lie. Like, I cannot utter the words pizza or pasta to him. If I do, then he only wants that. Because he's also a normal child. He only wants that. So I don't utter those words unless I know for a fact I'm going to feed him
Yeah.
pizza or pasta. Nowadays, in between it got where I had to put like roti ke upar sabzi and I had to like toast it and I'd be like, here beta, pizza. And then I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? If he doesn't want to eat, he won't eat. If he's hungry, he's going to eat. Whatever. Me
Yeah.
chasing him and being like, khale, 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 that's going to increase my blood pressure and he's not going to eat. And he's going to make me run. So no, I just, I stick to my roots. And whatever I grew up eating, if I eat halwa, I eat halwa. My son started eating sugar as early as I can remember. And he's doing just fine.
Is there a favorite dish that your son loves that's easy to make that you'd like to
Dal
share?
rice.
Dal rice.
Dal rice.
Healthiest
One,
you can give him,
and
right?
spinach rice. Spinach rice.
Mm.
It's very easy. Spinach rice, just what I used to do. Now, though, I put just palak paneer in it and he eats paneer with it. But back then, if you have a young child, it's great for iron too, right? So just make purees. I used to put everything in ice cubes. I used to make stuff for a week, and I used to put in ice cubes, freeze it, and then jo chahiye nikal ke usme thoda, I would do the vagar of like some ghee and like jeera, crushed jeera and like namak and whatever you put in palak paneer, a little bit of thoda sa mirchi. But the only thing I don't give him too much right now is green chili, because that can really, trigger. Unless it's in a bhajia or something and it's like finely grated, I don't give him too much green chili because that is very strong for him. But other than that, just give him spinach rice, give him dal rice. Khichdi, my parents said he just 2 days or 2 nights ago, because we ate out so much. And my brother and I went out. My parents made khichdi and he said, yummy. And he ate like 2 bowls of it on his own. So it's great. Basic foods,
I love khichdi. Khichdi is like a personal staple for me, like
Yeah,
every time.
I know. My husband would be like, bimar log. I'm like, no, it's not bimar logo ka khana. It's a good food. It's a light food. It's great food. It's
digest,
yeah.
healthy.
I'm like, I feel so light. I can eat so much rice, but I can feel so light after eating it. I don't know, for some reason,
So, for my fifth question, for those of you who follow Isha's personal page, Cultural Highlights, know how beautifully she sings. And I've seen post videos of you singing to your son. I was wondering if you could share a list of Indian songs that you like to sing for your son and which are your favorite, his favorite.
He is very much into bhajans, because we used to sing a lot of bhajans to him. So songs like Achyutam Keshvam, songs like Adharam Madhuram. Again, depending on the your god you follow, whatever. Adharam Madhuram. I said Siddhi Vinayak. He loves Siddhi Vinayak. He knows Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So these are some of the traditional songs that he knows. Then, of course, after a while, he's like, okay, mom, bomb, diggy, diggy, bomb, bomb. That always comes. But he really follows the traditional songs right now. And he can babble them too. So it's funny, we took him to Ganesh Puja yesterday and they started singing Sukh Karta, Sukh Karta, Dukh Karta. And he's like, oh, and he started clapping so fast. So he was like, he recognizes the phrases. So we do a lot of religious songs like that. On our house, there's a rule that if you are in the morning, if he's home, if he's not gone to the daycare, for a good solid hour and a half, we play bhajans. So in the morning, when you're having chai, there's no let's call family, let's say hi, none of that. For first hour and a half, you play bhajans, and you play all different bhajans, and we play Ganesh, we play Krishna bhajans. Sometimes I even play Ram bhajans, and he enjoys them. He's playing, wo apni kitabein padhega, wo apne toys khelega, but the music is in the background, so he knows that stuff's going on. And I make it a normal, because growing up, my parents still do it. My grandfather, I'm sure our grandparents did it. So I want it to be a normal, if you're home and in the morning, we listen to bhajans. So yes, his playlist consists a lot of bhajans right now.
I saw one post of yours where you're singing some Krishna bhajan to him, and it got back some memories because I hadn't heard it in a really long time. I can't remember the name at the moment.
I think I know. I just don't know which song I sang. I know which video you're talking about. I can't remember the song I sang, but I know I sang a song to him for sure. Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I
really
listen to a lot of Falguni Patak bhajans too. She has some really fun bhajans, and because she makes it very like jammy, so he's like, and he's into beats. Because I'm a
yeah,
singer, so he's got that from me. He's into beats, so he'll be like jamming with it. So it's nice. So we try not to play songs that are very like that have not been redone,
uh-huh.
technologically. You should do songs that have some beat to it, the versions of the songs that have some beat to it, so they don't feel they're listening ye kya sun rahe hain.
Yeah,
Because I know growing up my parents would play certain songs, I'm like, what are you listening to? And now the same songs have been remade and I dance to it.
yeah.
So it's just a generation thing. So
That, that's a fantastic idea. It's great. We
yeah.
listen some to in the morning when the kids are getting dressed up. In fact, now they're used to it. They'll say, Alexa, play Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Oh, they might start actually. My Alexa might start playing it.
That'd be funny. That's okay. My son does that too. He'd be like, he calls her Alex because he can't say Alexa. Like, Alex, Siddhi Vinayak. Alex, oh, I'm like, Alex cannot play that. It's okay.
Okay, so as a special treat and as a bonus, can I request you to sing one of your favorite songs for us? A few lines, whatever you like.
Sure, sure. It's hard to pick a favorite song. I'll just pick a song that my dad really likes of me. So I'll sing that song. लग जा गले कि फिर ये हंसी रात हो ना हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो ना हो, लग जा गले से हमको मिली है आज ये घड़ियां नसीब से, जी भरे की देख लीजिए हमको करीब से, फिर आपके नसीब में ये बात हो ना हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो ना हो, लग जा गले से.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad my dad's not here. He's probably in the other room tutoring. He'd probably run like, "Tum gana ga rahi ho?" because he loves this.
I'm sure they are pleased that you sing so beautifully and you're singing songs that they love. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
It was really a pleasure to have you here today, and it was I enjoyed so much talking to you.
Pleasure was all mine. I had a great time. Thank you for having me, Chitwan. It was fun.
All right. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.